Someone I wanted to talk about tonight, I thought had a really strong first period, scored the shorthanded goal, second shorthanded goal in as many games. It is Ryan Poehling. He's kind of been one of their go-to guys over the really since coming out of the break, but he played 21 minutes in Boston as well. What did he end up with tonight? Poehling back down to 15 minutes and 12 seconds. So not among the team leaders as he has been the last few games. He played 18:46, second most among the forwards against Florida. Played the third most amongst the forwards, over 18 minutes again against the Jets. He led the forwards at ice time against Boston before the break, over 21 minutes. They have been leaning heavily on Ryan Poehling. Not as much tonight, but he made his presence felt with the shorthanded goal. I am just very, very interested to see where they really slot him in going forward, because he seems to be the perfect fourth liner. But John Tortorella has seen more out of him lately and said as much the other day in the media, in his media availability, that Poehling hasn't shown him enough to stay consistently in the top 9, in the top 6 forwards, but he's shown him enough to get those chances now and then. You're seeing that right now. I like watching Ryan Poehling play. He looks to me like, again, the perfect fourth liner. Whether he has more, he's kind of aging into the point where he is what he is. But a guy who can score like this for you on the penalty kill, who can give you these important defensive minutes, who can play center, skate like he can, he is an underrated signing that Danny Briere made this offseason.
It's crazy. Like, I bunch him, Garnet Hathaway, Sean Walker, the free agents that we brought here, because the way that they have responded, they've really embraced playing here, and just Tortorella's tutelage as well. But we mentioned Poehling earlier with the block shots. He's so big on both ends. The PK is so important, and he it's crazy. He's got his second straight game with a shorthanded goal. But it's the ability that he has to buy into towards his system. It's been so important here, and the fact that these guys have been able to buy in such a short time, it's been so important here, Bill. And it goes to show that going forward, all these players are coming into a good culture, and I think that that's what Poehling's been able to benefit from.
And I actually found it a little interesting today that you get the first period goals out of not only Ryan Poehling, but the guy we've said Poehling kind of makes a little redundant in Scott Laughton. We keep hearing more and more about Scott Laughton's apparent availability at the trade deadline. I wondered a couple of weeks ago, like, I don't know, if they didn't want to move him for a first-round pick over the summer. A few years ago, they had trade offers for Scott Laughton and decided, okay, well, if he doesn't sign his extension, we'll trade him. And he signed, and he's been here ever since. They've had opportunities in the past, different regimes. 2 different regimes have had the opportunity to trade him. He's still here. Scores the power play goal tonight, and it was a nice one. A nice one-timer, just puts it right past Joey Decord, who played pretty damn well for Seattle tonight. He's having a great season for them. But I wonder if this is finally it. Like, I'm skeptical that they actually want to trade Scott Laughton, but as you're seeing some centers come off the board, you're seeing what teams are really interested in. Like, I'm listening to 32 Thoughts today, and it's, well, what does Edmonton want? They really want some forward depth, and they really want a right-handed defenseman. Well, the Flyers have Sean Walker and Scott Laughton. It's like, there might be a match here.
Let's talk Edmonton.
Might be a little bit of a match here for them to be able to make something of that. But just watching Scott Laughton, you see why teams like him. He plays his ass off. He plays all phases of the game now, scores on the power play tonight. First power play goal of the season, but he has the tools to be a really good depth forward for you. I hope now at this point they're able to trade Scott Laughton, because at some point you're going to need to open up some roster spots. And with the emergence of Ryan Poehling, I don't know if you can move Ryan Poehling up in the lineup as much as they like to with Laughton when he's going well. Yeah. But for his usual role, I like Poehling better.
No, that is 100% true. I mean, I made the joke here today as well. Like, Lautz definitely helped his trade value here today, but with Lautz, it's really been like a mental thing. We talked about some of the penalties he's been committing. It's like, what are you thinking? It's not typical Scotty Lautz either. And so today just really felt like he got his confidence back, and that was definitely cool to see. And you could truly tell with that first goal on the power play. And if we can get that from Lawton, I mean, teams are going to need someone like Scott Lawton. So that's one piece I would definitely, I'd hate to say, but I would like to see move on, because it's a piece that makes sense to move on with it today.
No, I like Scott Lawton a lot. He's been a really good role player for this team for several years, but it's been a long time. He's been here a really long time, and
feels like it's
he's got to be like, as much as I like him and what he brings to the lineup, he's not irreplaceable. Like, this is not a dude that you go, well, where the hell else can we find what he does? You can find it a lot of places, and you can probably find it for a lot cheaper than $3 million.
Man's on the roster right now.
Like, yeah, exactly. When you have, okay, we can actually look at a guy and go, he does what Scott Lawton does. He plays center. He's probably a more effective center than Scott Lawton is. Lawton plays center, but really he's a good winger, you know? And I think now is finally the time where you have to do it. I like, if he gets a little hot and starts scoring a bit closer to the pace he was scoring at last season, I don't know how much it actually raises his value. Like, the guy's almost 30 years old. Teams know what he is.
Yeah.
Like, it's, oh, well, he's scoring now. But also you get, okay, well, he's scoring now. We're getting him while he's hot. Cool. Like, maybe he can keep it up for the rest of his, who's to say? But I really just think the time is right. And I appreciate his leadership. I know a lot of guys look at him, and he's one of the main pieces in this locker room. It's why, you know, we look at this roster and go, they don't have the talent.
Yeah.
They're in the playoffs, though. It looks like they have a really good chance to make it.
Yeah.
His leadership, whatever you want to call it, whatever his, you know, intangible is, it's one of the reasons then you have to chalk up to them being in this. But is he even going to be here when they're good again? You know, like, someone else has to step up and take that role. If his leadership is that important, like, someone else has to fill that void.
Yeah, it is also very telling because, you know, we talked with Charlie last time about, you know, he obviously hears the rumors. And yet he came out here today and he looked like he was filled with confidence. And we haven't seen a lots like this in a while. So we'll see what the rest of the rest of these couple of weeks play out before the deadline. But it does feel like Lawton's time may come to an end, and there's a team out there that could use a guy like, you know, CMC saying in the comment section, he would fit perfectly for some of these cup contenders on that fourth line.
No, that's exactly what he is. He's a fourth line guy on a cup team, and you can, in a pinch, move him up in the lineup. Like, we have seen him have success higher up in the lineup. Now, if he's on a second or third line of yours, no, you're probably not you're probably not deep enough. You know,
you're the Flyers of the last 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. When he's on last year's second line, it's like, yeah, that's why they picked 7th. You know, like, this is a clear indication of where you are. But if you have him slotted into that role where it's actually, you know, he's maybe closer to a third liner than a fourth liner, and we have him on our fourth line, that means you have enough depth to compete with some of these really, really deep teams. Like, you're talking about going out west with him maybe to Edmonton. Seems like a good fit. You have to compete with Vegas. You know, the deepest forward group in the league. You have to, and Toronto looking at the same thing. Like, what are we missing? Yeah. We're missing that playoff attitude. That's what Scott Lawton brings. You're looking at that. His intangibles plus what he actually brings on the ice makes him someone I think you can get more for, even if it's not the first round pick we thought we could get for him this summer. Someone you can get more for than their actual value.
Yeah. We all silly like the mayor.